You're listening to Strange by Nature, your guide to the strange, weird, unbelievable, and improbable wonders of the natural world.
Hello everyone, thanks for being here today. I am Kirk Mona and I am joined today by Rachel Ginza and Victoria Thompson. We are all professional naturalists who together have scoured the world for weird and wonderful wonders just to please your mammalian brain's desire for novelty. Isn't that nice? Let's do this.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Welcome back. I get to start us off. It's you and me,
Yeah,
Kirk.
you do.
I do get to
It's
start
just
us
you
off.
and me. These are fun ones. And I've got something special today. Oh, is it special? But you know what? You have to wait because it's your turn to go first.
I am going first this week. I think mine is also really special, but I guess we'll see. So recently, somewhat recently, in the last month or so as of this recording, there's been a lot of talk about the world's oldest of this bird. This is the world's oldest known wild bird, actually.
Okay.
Is looking for a new mate, which is very exciting.
Nice.
This particular bird, her name is Wisdom.
Oh, yes. I know Wisdom well.
Oh,
Not personally, but I know
yeah.
Wisdom.
You know Wisdom? Oh, good. One of us should.
I see what you did there.
Thank you. So Wisdom is the world's oldest known wild bird, and estimates put her at about 72 years old.
Yeah.
Which is so old. That's so long.
Amazing.
It's amazing. But she's actively looking and courting a new mate, which is really exciting because, as I'm sure you know, Kirk, there are 22 species of albatross. This is the type of bird I am talking about today. There are 22 species, and 21 of those species are considered endangered, and several more are critically endangered. So it's not looking great for the albatross, but I wanted to give them a little spotlight on our show this week because I saw this article come through about Wisdom. And the more I learned about albatross, Kirk,
Yeah.
the more
They're
I
wild.
went, what?
They are just stellar. I mean, you're going to tell us all about it, but go for it. Tell us all about
so
it. They're
good.
so cool.
So it's already wild that we have this bird that is identifiable, is tagged and banded and such, and we know how old she is. And the fact that
we should say we know how old she is because of bird banding. So she was banded and has had her band replaced a number of times over those years.
Oh, they'd have to.
It keeps wearing it out. It keeps wearing out.
Well, I mean, to be fair, they put the original band on her in 1956.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Lots of things would wear out by that point, I would hope. But that's incredibly old. And to give you and the fact that she's looking for a new mate even, so that way she can spread her genetics even more. One, fantastic for the species. And two, I would honestly, at 72 for bird, which is 2 decades older than most other albatross make it to in the first place, I wouldn't be looking for a new mate. I would just be like, I'm going to watch all these little babies run around and I'm good.
I mean, that instinct is strong, so she's out there.
Which is really great. But the more I got into learning about albatross in general, the more I just went, what? So to give everyone a little bit of background, albatross are a seafaring bird. Generally speaking, like I said earlier, there are 22 species of albatross, and I'm going to speak more in generals for albatross as a species, or as a group of species, I should say. They're a seafaring bird. They have long wings, really big wingspan, which I'll get into. Generally have some sort of white on their bodies and wings, and variations of gray, brown, and
Yeah,
black.
they're not colorful birds.
No, they
Yeah.
truly are not.
They make up for it though.
They absolutely do. So albatross, in general, have some of the widest wings. So I'm pretty sure on the show we've talked about big birds before. I don't think we've
Sure.
covered ostriches yet,
No.
which is another crime we should probably.
Oh, look, I'm holding back on a lot of the bird stuff. There's some freaky bird stuff
There's some wild things
I
on
I need to get to.
So, Kirk, what it sounds like you with the birds is how I feel with the ocean. I have to break it up before I keep going back into the ocean to look like
Right.
spread more knowledge of
My topic
different-
is not birds.
good.
At all this week. So yeah.
Amazing. So albatross, like the biggest of the albatrosses, is the wandering albatross.
Yeah.
And their wingspan is 12 feet across.
It's not even funny. That's ridiculous.
That is ridiculous. That is almost 2 Rachels.
Right.
That is 2 Rachels stacked up against each other. I think it could be, actually. I think it is 2 Rachels. It is more,
it's 2 Rachels.
It's 2 Rachels and a little bit more. That's the
Wow.
wingspan of this bird, which I'm still picturing it right now, the 2 Rachels, and I'm just, okay. So the fact that it's 12 feet across, it's the largest wingspan, it's the largest bird on Earth. Which is,
I'm 6 feet tall, so like
It's
one of
2
its
Kirk.
wings. Yeah, it's 2 Kirks. That's not a unit of measure we're
we don't have
comfortable
that.
usually using on the show, but
It's
we'll
2
throw it out
Kirk.
there.
Oh my gosh, I'm just thinking 2 Kirks on top of each other right now, and like,
It's terrifying.
Oh my gosh.
It's
But
tall.
having such a big wingspan really helps the albatross, as they are mostly seafaring. They are seafaring birds. They spend the ocean covers 70% of the planet, and they spend their life flying around the ocean.
Yes, they do.
Are able to soar and really fly up to like 500 miles in a day.
Yeah,
Which is,
that's ridiculous.
I think that's more than I could cover in a day in a car. Because
I mean,
I would have to stop.
well,
I would have
at
to
least
stop.
use the bathroom, sure.
Yeah. And this is without stopping. Like they can
Yeah.
soar 500 miles without stopping. And they're doing
yeah.
this for like 8 hours at a time at 80 miles an hour with barely flapping their wings, just because their wingspan is so long and so large that they're able to just lock their elbow joints to keep their wings extended, not have to extend any energy towards like flapping and using their muscles, and
Right.
allow them to soar using the wind shear that comes up off of the ocean in general.
Yeah, and so we should point out that they're flying like very close to the water
Mm-hmm.
to take advantage of that wind that's right at the surface there. So they're not soaring crazy high up in the air usually. They're just sort of right down there at the water, speeding along. It doesn't sound possible, but they just go and go and go and go. Unreal.
Yeah, they just keep going, and they're barely flapping. They're just going. Now, that being said, too, they have this large wingspan. They're going many, many places, but in general, because of the way that they soar and everything, because of the locked wings and how close to the water, their food sources are in the ocean itself. They're seafaring
Right.
birds. They're going for fish and things like that. They will, and they do, spend much of their time soaring at sea. So once they fledge and they learn how to fly, they spend a lot of that time flying,
Mhm.
and they really don't touch down anywhere.
No.
So they'll sometimes touch down in the ocean, especially just
Sure.
to feed. they'll like dive in so that way they can get food and like be able to capture fish and things like that. But it's widely believed that they're able to sleep while they're flying.
Yeah.
We don't know that for sure necessarily, but they have been tracked, and because of the wind, because of how they are able to lock their wings and how they soar, they can go years without touching land.
That just is wild. Now they're not. We should point out that they're not. It's not that they're never touching down. You know,
right.
They might land in the water.
They're still landing in the water, and they're touching the water like several different times, so that way they can eat and maintain the energy levels that they need to be able to survive and such. And they're often going places. Being said, like they can do that where they are flying for over a year or several years. There is a lot of like disparity on how long they could fly for. But like, why would they, you know? Like if they're not going to get attacked by a shark and they see an island, they're going to stop on the island, you know, like to be able to rest and everything. And they do raise their chicks and everything on land because you have to. And that's where they make like truly the saddest looking nests I've seen in a while.
I mean, a nest has only got to be good enough to keep the eggs from rolling away. Right?
Yeah.
Why spend the extra energy if there's really no need?
I suppose. But like, they're like, I understand that robins make really good nests and such, but like overall, but we look at those and we think of them as messy and muddy and just kind of gross when you look at like a robin's nest, I suppose.
Yeah.
I don't think that necessarily. I feel like I just hear that all the time, like, oh, they're nesting on my porch or deck or whatever.
Okay.
But like, this is just a pile. I was looking at their nest. This is a pile of sticks on the ground in some sand. That's it. It's wild. So I just have a few other things I wanted to be able to talk about when it comes to that I wanted to be able to talk about when it comes to albatrosses. One really cool thing that I found is that they're able to, you talked about a while ago, you talked about birds being able to smell and their sense of smell.
Yeah.
So they actually tested 19 wandering albatrosses with GPS, and they seem to be able to smell the food based on the wind from up to 12 miles away.
That is amazing. I've always said, I could smell chocolate chip cookies baking a long ways off. 12 miles seems a bit much.
I don't think I could do 12 miles. Like, that's pretty
I mean,
good.
it depends how strong the smell is, I mean...
Right, and like the wind is carrying it to them, and like I know there's the ocean right there, and that's definitely a part of the equation, of having it in the first place, of this smell reaching their nostrils. But
I mean, smell is particles. Like when we had the Canadian wildfire season has already started, and I could smell wildfires outside my door.
And they're happening in Ontario.
Hundreds and hundreds of miles away.
No, British Columbia.
So you go,
yeah.
Okay, I mean, technically I was smelling fires from hundreds of miles away.
Yeah,
because the particles traveled that far. So, it's, hey, look at my nose.
Exactly. So that also is just wild. But another thing that makes albatrosses really special and really strange, well, not really strange, but like really important or like special, and the fact that wisdom is looking for a new mate, going all the way back to how I started, is because generally speaking, for albatrosses, they form lifelong pair bonds. They, or in how other people will put it, is they mate for life, right?
Sure.
So they choose a partner and they mate with them year after year after year. So that is a really big deal, because that's going to be the person, or that's going to be the bird, not person, they're birds.
Right.
That's going to be the bird that you are going to be with for the rest of your life and you live
Yeah.
at least 50 years, you better choose well, right? So
Absolutely.
they do elaborate like mating dances and elaborate
Okay.
courting. So they
Yeah.
will court with each other over time to become like unique, and they'll change their dances that develop that eventually those dances become unique to each pair,
Oh, okay, cool.
which is really cool. But the amount of components that happen with each dance it changes between the species and everything. But there's
Sure.
like the wandering albatross has at least 22 different components to each dance.
Wow.
So it's like things like head rolls and bill snaps and like bowing
Yeah.
and things like that. So all of these different things, but they combine themselves as they get to know each other, I suppose. They combine this dance, combine each other's dances, and eventually create their own dance as a
Cool.
couple, which is
That's
really
really cool.
cool.
That's so sweet.
It's very sweet. I did not know that about albatrosses. Like
I did not know
we've
that
talked
either.
about we've talked about courtship and courtship dancing on the show before. I think we talked about the greater prairie chicken, and there's been some wild ones out there, but that is pretty. The fact that they're creating their own dance is really cool. Like most people can't do that. And we definitely don't think of birds as being as elaborate in their courting, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that they can do that and create a unique dance that isn't like any other albatross, that's just so cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's what I have for you today. I just wanted to talk about albatrosses and the fact
Nice.
that there's more to it. There's, like I said, there's 22 different species, and they all have their own unique little bits. But the fact that they can fly for hundreds of miles with very little effort, they have they have the widest wingspans and are the oldest wild birds out there. Amazing. Love it.
Super cool.
Yeah. So, with that, we're going to take a break. And when we return, Kirk, I
Yeah.
heard you had something for us.
Of course I do.
Oh, fabulous.
Hey, before we get back to the show, I want to give a shout out to some of our listeners. You know, some of you may know we have the Society of Strange, which are
Yeah.
our Patreon members. New Society of Strange members, Kim and Maya, thank you so much for becoming members of the Society of Strange.
Woohoo!
And, you know, you too can join in and get ad-free episodes that usually come out a day or two early. I was looking, though, I didn't realize, you know, there's a new thing Patreon has where you can become a member for free. Did you know this, Rachel?
I think I did. You can become a member for free, but you don't necessarily get all the benefits of each.
Exactly. Yeah, you can become a member, and I see like Anderly, Stephanie, who else here? Beth, a bunch of other people recently became some free members, which is cool.
Which
you
is
don't
awesome.
get the ad-free episodes by doing that, but if we drop some, you know, little free teasers out there, some of our free level members might find out about them as well.
Which we
There was
absolutely
also
done.
somebody, you know who you are. I'm not going to say your name because your username on Patreon is not family friendly, but welcome to you as well with the alliterative name I shouldn't say out loud. So if you want to find out more about it and become a member and maybe get those ad-free episodes, head on over to patreon.com/strange by nature podcast and learn about our different membership levels and some of the cool stuff you can get. So we'll see you there. Okay, Rachel, have you ever heard of the Epomis Beetle?
It's like,
Epomis. I think I'm saying that right, the Epomis Beetle.
That sounds right. Victoria's not here, so I'm going to say yes.
Perfect.
I'm going to say no, but it is doing that thing where something is like itching or tingling in somewhere in my brain. It's
Okay,
not
well, good.
it's not a tapeworm though.
It's not a tapeworm. That was my first thought, was you might want to get that checked out. So this is incredible, I have to say. I thought about actually saving this for the Halloween episode.
Oh God.
Which gives you an idea of where this is going. But
Oh, no.
I actually already have a story for that. So here we go. You get it this
Kirk.
week. Oh, yeah. I found something. I'm like, boom, that's on the list. That's Halloween. Those of you who haven't been around long enough to know what our Halloween episode is about, it's usually the most horrifying stuff we can find. So
It's a fun time.
this beetle I want to tell you about, like all beetles, starts out life as an egg, and that hatches into a larva. And that larva goes through 3 instars as it kind of goes through these little stages of life. And this is on the way to becoming an adult. So it's going through the full on metamorphosis here. They live in parts of Africa, Asia, and Europe. So not in my backyard, but maybe in some of our listeners' backyards. Now, one of the dangers on the way to becoming an adult is that you've got a pretty good chance of becoming lunch, right?
Yeah.
That's like that happens to a lot of beetles. I mean, while technically ants are the most numerous insects on Earth, beetles are the most numerous in terms of like the number of different species. There's a lot of beetles out there. And I got to say, probably most of them become lunch. That's sort of, I don't want to say it's their role in the ecosystem because that sounds really, dark. And also, frankly, beetles are an incredible pollinator.
Oh, they're an
most
amazing
of the flowering
pollinator.
plants on Earth are actually pollinated by beetles, not by bees. One of my
Also,
big things.
not only that, but beetles often are the ones who take over for species-specific pollination, where there are plants that they don't have their pollinators that they evolved with anymore. Like that species died out. Like beetles often will take over in some, or at least in some cases.
Yeah, I think it's I want to say a statistic is there's something like they pollinate 98% of all flowering plants on Earth. And
it's a
like,
significant amount. Yeah.
Why are we giving the bees all the credit? The bees are like that kid in that group project at school who got the good grade and all the credit when actually you were doing all the work. You're the beetle. That's my metaphor for that.
I guess as someone who really loves bees, I guess bees are a little more. Bees have their own issues, to be fair. Like there are people who do not like bees.
Well, look, we're not talking about bees, Rachel. We're talking about beetles.
We're talking about
and especially
beetles,
this beetle, the Epomis Beetle. Remember how I said like a lot of these beetles and the larvae whatnot get eaten and they become lunch?
Right.
This beetle has turned the tables.
What?
Yeah.
What?
So
what?
I want
what
you to imagine this scenario. I want you to imagine the scenario.
Where this is going.
A frog or a toad is just kind of, jumping through the forest or something. And all of a sudden they're looking down on the ground and they see a tasty little beetle larva. And they're like, I know what to do. It's lunchtime, right?
Right.
So it goes in for the attack, like, frogs will do. They'll eat really anything. And when I'm feeding frogs at work, because we have frogs and toads we use as teaching animals, they'll try to eat my hand. They'll go after anything that's moving, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I was going to say, like, anything the correct size go in their mouth. They'll even go after things that aren't the correct size, right? So in this case, the frog goes in for this beetle larva. Big mistake, Mr. Frog. Big mistake. These larvae are fast and they attack back.
What do you mean they attack back, Kirk?
Oh,
they're
Rachel.
larvae.
Rachel, you're about to find out.
Oh, I hate this, Kirk.
Apparently, I read that it could be that, like, they even want the frog to attack. Like, they're trying to lure the frog in by, look at me. Oh, I'm an innocent larva.
No.
And this is all just a trick. They want to be found. These larvae have large jaws that are kind of serrated, kind of hooked.
What?
And they use these to bite the amphibians. And once they latch in, they're not letting go. They actually inject the amphibians with digestive juices
What?
that will slowly liquefy the insides of the frog
This is
while
all
they're still alive.
and still in the frog?
No, maybe here's the thing. They can latch onto the outside and bite into them, right?
Uh-huh.
And they will like liquefy them over the course of days. And they will just suck the digested goo out of them. And now you kind of hinted at like, what if the frog's faster though, right? What if the frog catches the larva before it can bite on? No good. The larva can latch onto the tongue of the frog, inject this digestive enzymes and whatnot into the tongue and get it into the body that way and basically just suck them dry from inside their tongue or holding onto their tongue.
Are they dissolving the entire like creature or just like
so they're gonna leave like the skeleton and the skin, but they're gonna take everything out. There's also been cases similar to my story a couple weeks ago about the beetle crawling out the butt of the frog.
Butt. This
beetle larva can be completely swallowed by the frog, and then somehow, and we don't really understand how yet, they cause the frog to vomit them back out a few hours later, probably by irritating them somehow. And then not deterred, the larva
digestive juices are coexist or like interacting with their digestive juices.
Maybe
I don't know.
I don't know. But here's the thing: after being like puked out, they can strike the frog again, having been barfed up, and go in for the attack.
Now that's just rude.
It is rude, but they got tenacity.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
Kirk.
So I mentioned they have 3 instars, right? Those are the stages of life. They do this at every instar of the larva. They digest 1 animal in the first instar, 2 to 3 in the second, and as many as 5 in the last instar as they're growing.
What?
So this is horrifying. I did mention like it takes days to digest them.
They're just
alive.
They're alive? That was my next one. Are they slowly being digested alive?
They're holding on for a couple days while the animal's obviously getting weaker and weaker. And then once they can't move anymore, the larva is like, cool, I can switch tactics. It actually starts to kind of cut into them with these serrated jaws and starts eating the inside instead of having to suck it all out. Then it can go in. And so it may not completely liquefy the insides. It's just liquefying it enough to like totally incapacitate them. And so it's sucking the juices while it's doing that. And then once the animal is completely just, almost dead, then it goes in and just completely cleans up and eats everything, leaving only the bones and skin.
Kirk, my jaw's on the floor. I'm so horrified.
Yeah. You should be. It is horrifying. This is all necessary, though, to get the nutrients to go through each one of those stages of life. Speaking of those stages, Rachel, after the third instar, do you know what happens? You know what happens.
They have to be like a nymph. They go through metamorphosis.
Yeah, they become an adult.
Well,
they become an adult. And so if you're thinking that's going to put its wild child days behind it, you would be
liquefying.
Wrong.
Liquefying.
You would be wrong, Rachel, if you thought that. The adults have their own
insides.
Their own
I'm
deal.
an adult.
The adults jump onto amphibians, and because they can't hold on as well as the larvae, what they do is they just quickly start tearing into them, right through their skin. And amphibians don't have real thick skin, and we still don't quite understand the mechanism here. But somehow, when they are like cutting into their bodies, what they do is they sever the connection to the legs of their prey so that they can't move. We don't know exactly how it works, but we know they're not like cutting their spine. We think they're maybe cutting tendons and things like that. But they know how to stop that, say, frog from moving, which is wow. And again, once it can't move, bon appetit, they devour the animal.
Oh my god.
alive, of course, because most things
Why
in
w-
nature eat things alive.
Right.
The whole thing is just
Oh, I hate
horrifying and
this.
certainly strange. I've been
Uh-huh.
talking most about amphibians because that's kind of their primary thing to go after, but there have even been
Okay.
cases of them feeding on rodents and on
No.
birds. Although
Uh-uh.
likely birds that were already maybe, not doing so well or something, right?
Right.
So this is just stunning, a stunning creature. There's one kind of cool
Oh.
parting thought that I have about this.
Okay.
Um, there's
Then I
been
have
some
a question.
speculation. Yeah. So there's been some speculation that what we might be seeing here is the evolution from a parasite to a predator. Because the
Okay.
beetles don't all, I describe this horrifying, like,
I
death
did
scene
think
thing.
about it as like a parasite. It's literally latched onto the outside of the frog.
Yeah. And they don't actually always kill their prey. So sometimes they'll just kind of latch on, take a meal, and then fall off and end up not killing the animal. So when you
Mhm.
hear that, you go, well, that sounds more like a parasite, right? But the
Right.
whole completely draining them and killing them and then starting to chew them all up and stuff, that sounds like a predator. So it's in this weird liminal in-between space between those two things.
Mhm.
And it's kind of interesting to speculate. Did they kind of just start off as parasites and are becoming more predatory over time, or
Mhm.
what's going on here? And either way, they're a horrifying creature that reminds us that nature can be nasty and brutish. And I guess we can all be glad that we aren't amphibians. I guess I am.
I suppose. Although that doesn't seem to stop them much.
I mean, I don't think they attack humans, luckily.
Oh yeah.
I haven't heard of anybody being drained or anything, so we got that going for us.
Okay. My question.
Yeah.
How big are they, Kirk? I mean, I know it's a beetle, but there's a wide variety of beetle sizes. So there's a large variety of sizes of frogs as well. So how big are they? What's their size?
That is a great question. They're like 15 to 26 millimeters
Oh, they're
as the
tiny.
adults. So for those of you who don't speak science, that's up to about an inch, a little over half an inch to an inch. So they're not
Okay.
huge.
Mm-mm.
These are, but they will go after things that are bigger than them, which is what's pretty impressive. And I really didn't describe what the adults look like. They're really pretty. They're
Mm.
like an emerald green. They're one of these metallic beetles.
Mm.
They're kind of bluish to emerald green,
Okay.
and then there's like a really cool orange or yellow orange rim, kind of around the outside of them. So it's they're pretty. They're real pretty.
Well,
But
at least they're
oof,
pretty.
yeah, you definitely don't want to have one latch onto you. I guess if you're especially if you're an amphibian or a bird
No.
or even a small mammal.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's
It's
not.
rough out there, you guys.
Oh my
Stay
gosh.
safe, right? I will say
suppose.
there's some really good sources online about this beetle. My main source where I heard about it was actually a wonderful absurd creature of the week article by Matt Simon in Wired magazine back in 2016. So thank you, Matt, for that, and I hope everybody can sleep after that, not thinking about one crawling around in the bed there with you or anything.
Oh my gosh.
Why'd I have to say that?
Probably not. Why did
Boy.
you have to say that? My
Or if you're in the
goodness,
car,
Kirk.
there's not one crawling around under your seat or something. See, now I'm just
Kirk,
giving all
you're
these
not making this
horrible
better.
images.
Oh,
I'm
no.
sure, if you live in North America or Australia, where most of our listeners live, that's not a problem.
Okay. Everybody else, good luck, I guess.
I will say, I haven't given an update in a while. At the end of the show here, let's take a look at this right now. I'm going to bring
Ooh.
up the data
Okay.
because, we've had sort of this thing going on between Australia and the UK and
Mhm.
Canada for like who's going to be, in the different places of our listenership. And I want to give you the most recent numbers here for what's going down. Are you ready, Rachel?
I'm ready.
Okay, here is the data. In the last 3 months, in our rankings here, United States obviously has the most listeners since we're from here.
Mhm.
United Kingdom, you guys are holding strong at 15%. Australia, has surpassed Canada, as we said. I think I mentioned it. New Zealand, dark horse came out of nowhere. You guys are 1%, 1.5% behind Australia in your numbers. Canada, Australia, and New Zealand are kicking your butt, I'm afraid. Canada's dropped down to 5.3%, and Australia's at 7.1%. Wow, Australia and wow, New Zealand, amazing. Dang. You've been telling your friends to listen. Canada, I can't believe you are our neighbors to just right out our back door here are letting all these other countries, pull ahead of them. So Canada, time to tell your friends to listen to the show. That's the challenge. See if by the end of the summer, maybe Canada can retake its spot in the standings by convincing their friends to listen. By the way, this surprises me. The next one down after Canada is Ghana. We have a bunch of listeners in Ghana.
Oh, that's
thanks,
fun.
Ghana. That's amazing. So it's fun to see where everyone listens from. We truly have listeners from countries around the world, and it means so much to us that you are listening to the show, and it means so much that you guys, contact us and let you know what you think of the show too. So you can leave a comment right there in the Podbean app. I know a lot of you use that. Or you can contact us at contact@strangebynaturepodcast.com. And I know we say it in the outro every time, but we do really appreciate hearing from you guys. So everybody have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks everyone for listening to today's show. Be sure to subscribe. New episodes drop every Wednesday, and we love sharing this strange world with all of our listeners. If you would be so kind as to leave us a 5-star review, that would be great. It lets other lovers of the strange discover the show. You can reach out to us on social media by searching for Strange by Nature Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can send us an email as well. Our address is contact@strangebynaturepodcast.com. If you want more information about the show, you can also check out our website, which is strangebynaturepodcast.com. Until next week, get outside, stay curious, and embrace the strange.